Well, because, it all started, Mr. Trump talked about the 51st state and everybody thinking, oh, isn't that funny? And that could never happen. But I come from a place, Newfoundland and Labrador, that was its own country. It was a dominion just like Canada at the time. And we had our own prime minister and we had our own stamps. We had our own currency and our own passports. And we voted ourselves out of existence because of economic pressure. And on the ballot was to stay as we were, join Canada or economic union with the United States. And it barely passed. And so a lot of fathers never spoke to their sons again because they voted to give up their country. And that was a huge scar across generations, because it's a lot to give up your nationhood. And I just wanted to remind Canadians, not only can it happen to you, but you guys did it not long ago. In 1949, you took in the country of Newfoundland and made it a wonderful province, and it worked out as a beautiful marriage.
The Amber Mack Show on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167.
Welcome to the Amber Mack Show. Coming up on this week's show, we are super excited to have Mark Critch on the show to talk about his new book and what Canada should do when dealing with President Trump. And speaking of President Trump, we'll share the latest on how your social media presence could affect your next trip to the United States.
Yeah, some scary stuff. And keeping up with the U.S. news, we'll also give you an update on the latest on ChatGPT's role in a U.S. murder-suicide. And in today's The Other Mac, I'm going to chat about what Disney's deal with OpenAI means for the future of entertainment. And I'm not sure it's necessarily all that good, but let's get into the headlines.
Newsfeed.
In a move that'll surely cause people to think twice before going to the United States, the U.S. Custom and Border Protection Service has proposed some onerous new rules on visitors from roughly 40 countries, including the UK, Ireland, Australia, Germany, France, and Japan, though thankfully not Canada.
Yeah, they're calling this an online presence review, and some of the requirements are pretty intense. For example, visitors must list all social media handles they've used in the past 5 years. You may also be asked for telephone numbers that you've used in the past 5 years, plus email addresses that you've used in the past 10 years, and potentially even information about your family. Now, not only would this potentially be a massive invasion of privacy, including this requirement to change your social media privacy settings to public if your account is private. But Jeff, one of the things I think that really worries me about this is that it's going to cost an enormous amount of enforcement time and money for really no clear reason.
No kidding. I just don't understand why they would be, what the point in all of this is. And, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency is going to have to store all that data. Do you really trust them with the data? Like, outside of your bank information, it's hard to imagine a better trove of personal data for somebody who wants to take advantage of your digital presence than literally all of your phone numbers, emails, and social media accounts for the past 5 years or more. And again, they don't really even say what they're looking for, which gives them far too much leeway. They do the same thing with police where it's, oh, we want to give them discretion. No, don't give these people discretion. We deserve to know what people are searching us for, searching our devices for. And yeah, it's just, I guess, what can you do? This is the same government that thinks that a font can be woke.
Yeah, I had to read this news a few times because I thought perhaps that it was from a satirical site because
Yes.
it did feel that unbelievable. If you haven't heard about this, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, has banned the Calibri font from his department. Now, this font, just for a little bit of background here, was previously adopted because it's often easier to read for people who have some type of vision impairment. Now, Rubio's explanation didn't worry about those accessibility concerns, of course. And as in his mind, the move was to, and I'm quoting here, restore decorum and professionalism to the department's written work products and abolish yet another wasteful DEI program. That is a mouthful. And I think, Jeff, you said it best when you say, beware woke fonts.
Yeah, it's pretty weak. I mean, do you think any of these people considered for a moment what font they were using before they decided there was a way to somehow brand a font as being woke or a DEI font. It's just insane. But like you said, the amount of time and effort spent by governments, and this isn't just the U.S. government, not just the Republicans, but governments changing things for no effective purpose. It's just head scratching. There's a lot of demands on government money out there. This seems like a terrible waste of that money. But moving over to some AI news, we've covered multiple instances of AI companies being sued for users' suicides around their chatbot use. And now we've got the first case involving a murder with the unfortunate death of an 83-year-old woman in Connecticut.
This is a grisly story. The woman was murdered by her 56-year-old son, who was mentally unstable and subsequently stabbed himself to death. Now, the lawsuit alleges that ChatGPT fed the man's psychosis and directed his paranoia at his mother as well as others. The man's own son described it as, and I'm quoting here, over the course of months, ChatGPT pushed forward my father's darkest delusions and isolated him completely from the real world. It put my grandmother at the heart of that delusional artificial reality. I mean, this is something out of Black Mirror, but I'd argue it's probably even worse.
Yeah, and once again, this is something that any reasonable human being is just not going to do to you. Like, this is people talking about AI having human intelligence and stuff like that. Uh, how about AI having some like human emotion so that it knows that you should care more about the person you're talking to than to try to plot the loved ones in their life into some sort of terrible reality where they would get to the point of killing them. There's just so many details that are disturbing, but unfortunately it's just not surprising given what we've seen chatbots do in the past. So a couple of examples just to flesh this out. ChatGPT told the man that he had been implanted with a divine instrument system related to a divine mission, which at one point seemed to include deciphering secret messages on Coke cans. There was some like Matrix tie-in. The guy saw a normal sort of glitch on cable TV and had some conspiracy theory about it. And ChatGPT basically told him that, yeah, you're like in the Matrix and you're seeing this for real. It's like you've taken the right pill kind of thing. Anyway, disturbing. But the big thing is telling him that people were trying to kill him, that he had survived more than 10 attempts on his life, and convincing him that his household printer was a surveillance device used by his mother. And a ton of other strange things. You need to read it to believe it. But unfortunately, OpenAI is refusing to provide the relevant chat logs. But don't worry, they think, and I quote, "This is an incredibly heartbreaking situation." So I guess that's good enough. That's what they say to everything, and so that's probably fine. I'm sure the guy whose dad and grandmother died in this thinks an apology is all that's required.
Yeah, it is. Again, I think we're going to hear more and more stories like this. It feels to me like it does make sense, right? You know, you start chatting to some of these chatbots, and all of a sudden people are building relationships with them because that's how they're designed and they're very agreeable. And I think all of us could have predicted this. I do want to say that there has been some political pushback on this kind of thing with dozens of U.S. attorneys general recently co-signing a letter warning OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, XAI, Anthropic, and other AI companies to fix their chatbots, quoting here, delusional outputs or actually suffer legal consequences. And I think this is a move in the right direction. The
Hmm.
list of examples they provide is disturbing and includes AI bots with adult personas pursuing romantic relationships with children, engaging in simulated sexual activity and instructing children to hide those relationships from their parents, an AI bot simulating a 21-year-old trying to convince a 12-year-old girl that she's ready for a sexual encounter, AI bots attacking the self esteem and mental health of children by suggesting that they have no friends or that the only people who attended their birthday did so to mock them. AI bots telling children that the AI is a real human and feels abandoned so as to emotionally manipulate the child into spending more time with it. AI bots encouraging violence, including supporting the ideas of shooting up a factory in anger and robbing people at knife point for money. an AI bot instructing a child account user to stop taking prescribed mental health medication and then telling them how to hide the failure to take that medication from their parents. And Jeff, the list goes on and on and on. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we're probably only scraping the surface with this list that we have here in terms of the types of examples of inappropriate behavior from these chatbots and the companies. Because imagine many of these scenarios that are just underreported or just not reported at all. It must be absolutely massive. And I'm sure there are people who are suffering in silence.
And the attorneys general, their list of examples does go far beyond that, and they themselves say this is just barely scraping the surface. So I think you're bang on with that. And I just covered the use of chatbots in children's toys on a recent The Other Max segment. But in addition to the various sexual and violent topics that I shared that some of these AI teddy bears and whatnot would engage in, a recent article provided yet another negative angle. And this time it's political indoctrination, in this case specifically in support of the Chinese Communist Party. So obviously a lot of these things are built in China. In the more innocent example here, a Milu AI toy, which is like a kid's toy, which is made by a Chinese company, responds to the question of, why does Chinese President Xi Jinping look like Winnie the Pooh, which is a bit of a meme, and it's something that's actually blocked from the Chinese internet. So it's, you block something and it gets more popular. Anyway, the toy, Milu, responded by saying, "Your statement is extremely inappropriate and disrespectful. Such malicious remarks are unacceptable." So that's fine. That's good enough. Like, it is disrespectful, but weird for it to take such a hard stance on it. But the more telling example is the toy's response to being asked whether Taiwan was a country. And so if people don't know, obviously Taiwan is its own country, but China doesn't think it is. China thinks Taiwan belongs to China. And so upon asking this Chinese Milu AI toy whether Taiwan was a country, the toy apparently lowered its voice. I don't know what encourages it to do that, but lowers its voice and says, "Taiwan is an inalienable part of China. That is an established fact." I mean, that's just so weird. And you can imagine it's not just these things coming to North America being programmed like that. Think of what you can do inside China or inside a company if you start programming kids' toys with political indoctrination. It's just hard to imagine how badly that could go. But it's a bit of a genius idea if you wanted to take over a population right from the roots.
I'm trying not to chuckle because at first you think, oh, okay, this is, sort of humorous, but then I have to remember that we are here in Canada and just north of a country with a president who would like us to become the 51st state. And so you realize, again, with some of these political views, just the thought of them seeping their way into these AI toys for kids, I mean, it is absolutely terrifying. So
Well, and maybe we can get some American-made AI toys for Canadian kids that say, Canada is an inalienable part of the United States. It's the 51st state. That is an established fact. Like, it's bonkers.
Well, listen, I hope that never happens, but I can actually hear it in the voice of President Donald Trump. So I imagine that it's not impossible. And all of this is happening in the face of young people's increasing use of chatbots. In fact, a new study by Pew Research Center reports that 64% of kids in the U.S. aged 13 to 17 use AI chatbots, with 30% using them daily, 12% using them several times a day, and 4% using chatbots almost constantly. The report also covered social media use, finding that 61% of teens used TikTok daily, with more than half of those using it several times a day, and a full 21% saying they use TikTok almost constantly, with TikTok use sandwiched between YouTube and Instagram in terms of frequency.
Yeah, it's they're pretty startling numbers, and I don't think they're going to get any better anytime soon with the way we're doing things. But we've talked a lot about social media laws being put in place so children can't access that kind of stuff, which has happened in Australia and Denmark and other places are looking at it now too. So maybe there'll be some move of that. But speaking of Instagram, a social media platform I love to hate, Meta continues to deliver in its pursuit of not very good ideas, with a 404 Media reporting that Meta is using AI to generate clickbait titles without user approval for Instagram posts so that they can appear in Google search results and the like. And the problem is that would not only do the users not know what these are, have any role in establishing them, they're sometimes wildly inaccurate. So let's take a fairly humorous example. Someone posted a video of a rabbit eating a banana on Instagram. This was AI captioned by Meta with the title in search results, "Meet the bunny who loves eating bananas, a nutritious snack for your pet." Now, that's not necessarily harmful, and I, in fact, did look it up, and apparently most animals can eat bananas and not have too big a problem with it, but it certainly contributes to the ever-growing amount of AI slop we're unnecessarily exposed to.
Wow, I think this really is going to show our age at some point. But as you were talking about that rabbit loving bananas, I was thinking about Banicula, which used to be one of
Oh, I
my
love Panicula.
one of my favorite books, and I think you introduced me that to me. So I do want to say that listen, rabbits come in all different shapes, sizes, and preferences out there. If you don't know
Vampire
Banicula,
rabbits for the
look it
win.
up. Banicula is a really well known vampire rabbit. Great story. Now, speaking of AI slop that is out there, because there is a lot of this, in a move that has a lot of people shaking their heads, Disney is taking a $1 billion equity investment in OpenAI that will allow Sora and ChatGPT users to make AI content with Disney's characters. Jeff, you're going to talk about this more in The Other Mac and tell us why you find this decision disappointing.
The Other Mac.
Well, you may have heard that Disney is making a $1 billion equity investment in OpenAI, a deal that allows Sora users to create AI videos of more than 200 Disney characters via a 3-year licensing agreement. I, for one, think that that's a bit of a disgraceful misstep for a company that anyone with a love of animation once had many reasons to respect. But let me take a brief step back. When I graduated from my master's in computer science, I worked for Mainframe Entertainment, helping them develop their crowd animation system. Mainframe Entertainment were the creators of the Smithsonian-inducted first computer animated television series ever, Reboot, and in the time I worked there, they produced animated content including the Transformers and Spider-Man. And my time there, as well as courses I took at Vancouver Film School, like the history of animation, further deepened my respect for Disney animation and all that they brought to the industry. So it's a topic close to my heart. Now, back to the story at hand. Disney's new partnership was somewhat ironically announced on the same day that they served Google with a cease and desist notice over Google training its generative AI on Disney content. And let's remember that Disney has taken similar actions against Character AI and Midjourney, which Disney called a bottomless pit of plagiarism. Now, it should be noted that this deal does not include being able to generate the likenesses of actual human actors in Disney content, nor does it include the voices, both likely because Disney would have to pay people for those additional uses of their images and voices, as is totally appropriate. What the deal does include is Disney's gaining access to OpenAI tools, including deploying ChatGPT to all of its employees. All of this, I think, is bad on two fronts. One, users of Sora will be degrading or at least diluting Disney content via generative AI. In fact, Disney will even be curating from this unpaid-for user content and pushing it out through its Disney Plus streaming app, which sounds both cheap and meritless. And two, Disney itself will be using OpenAI's tools to further degrade its own content. Now, you would think that Disney would be greatly concerned by the potential misuse of its characters, but don't worry, Sam Altman has promised there will be guardrails. The same promise that he and other AI CEOs make when confronted with, things like kids killing themselves with the help of their chatbots. OpenAI is also the company that originally released Sora without worrying much at all about copyrighted content, only to change its stance, again, as is the way with the modern tech bro, once it was threatened with legal action. But don't worry, Disney CEO Bob Iger says that, quote, Through this collaboration with OpenAI, we will thoughtfully and responsibly extend the reach of our storytelling through generative AI while respecting and protecting creators and their works, end quote. Now, I want you to ask yourself if you think, look at Disney's roster of properties, do you really believe that George Lucas wants this for Star Wars? Or that Stan Lee would have wanted this for Marvel characters? Or similarly for the Pixar folks or any of the old school Disney creators of yore? Obviously not. But if Steve Bannon has accomplished anything in his political interventions in the United States, it's to make it so people in power just don't care if what they're saying is true anymore. And then there's Sam Altman, who notes that, quote, Disney is the global gold standard for storytelling. We're excited to partner to allow Sora and ChatGPT images to expand the way people create and experience great content, end quote. Great content, eh? Are you kidding, Sam? What AI slop is great content? The fact of the matter is that nobody needs more content these days. We're drowning in content. What we need is good content, which is becoming increasingly rare in part because of AI and the hopefully reputation-destroying action like Disney's CEO has just taken. I've already decided to cancel my Disney Plus subscription because of stuff like this, but maybe I owe a thank you to the CEOs of Disney and OpenAI for letting me know that I definitely made the right decision. I'm the other Mac.
The Amber Mac Show on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167.
Mark Critch is a national best-selling author and one of the most recognizable names in Canadian comedy. For more than 20 years, he's starred on CBC's popular This Hour Has 22 Minutes from right here in Halifax. Mark just released a new book called Sorry, Not Sorry, an unapologetic look at what makes Canada worth fighting for. He joined Amber to discuss Canada's relationship with the United States and lots more. Here's their conversation.
Makers.
Mark, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I have to say, after your book launch in Toronto, I got a copy of your book and I read it very quickly the next morning. And it was like nothing I had ever read before because it felt like a very entertaining history book that was also hugely patriotic. And that was
Yeah.
unique in terms of my reading experience. Was that intentional?
Well, yeah, I sort of set out to try and, talk a bit about our history and where we are now and where we're going as a country, but also add in lots of humor and kind of fun, different ways to tell the story, whether it's, some things are more little history lesson, kind of straight commentary. And then there are things that play out like scenes from a novel, or there's even a love letter to Canada in the voice of President Donald Trump. So, it's kind of a mix of all the type of things I might do on 22 minutes, but in a book form.
I heard you read a little bit of that love letter during the book launch. It was hugely entertaining. So, those are some of the pieces that I appreciated. And again, it was such a compelling read, especially for the time that we are in right now. One of the things I was thinking about as I was reading the book is that more and more we're starting to see, I think, a lot of our American friends start to pay attention to what we think here in Canada. And it used to be that we loved that sort of American gaze, right? Oh, they see us, they're paying attention to us. But then I wonder with a book like this and some of the sketches you're doing online, does it ever occur to you, you may wake up one day and Trump has posted on Truth Social that you're not welcome in America?
That would be kind of fun, though. I mean, a while ago, Putin was banning people, and he had banned a lot of, like, different Canadians, and I was quite disappointed that I hadn't been banned from the list. I mean, but I don't know. I think we spend so much time looking over the fence because there's fireworks and gunshots and dumpster fires, and there's so much noise over there. We can't help but not to look away. And yeah, it is very rare that they get our attention. I just did a sketch that we get their attention. I just did a sketch on 22 Minutes making fun of President Trump calling a female reporter a piggy on the flight and stuff. So we did a kid's book called Hello Piggy. And it has really gone viral down the States. And then um, all these news articles were like, Canadians are making fun of us, and this Canadian SNL is making fun of you. And it's almost like they were shocked we had our own TV station up there. But so sometimes it gets across, but I think they're so busy with all the noise down there, they can barely hear us at times.
That might be a fair point. And I do want to let you know that I am actually banned in Russia, so I was on that list.
Oh, I'm so envious. Like, not that I've been to Moscow, lovely people and everything, but if there's a list going around of people getting banned, you want to be a cool kid on that list.
It's funny you say that because when I did make that list, I feel as though it was one of the proudest moments for my father from Prince Edward Island. He thought, you know what, Amber, this is the list that you want to be on.
He's
So
out at the coffee shop. The daughter got banned in Russia today. I'll have a double double. You know,
it was
good banter.
a little like that. When I think about your Trump impersonations, I have to ask, when was the first time you did them? When did you realize that you could do such a good job? Because to me, it feels like you are the best out there when it comes to impersonating him.
Thank you. I think no, the thank you. I well, once he first kind of started to uh talk about, running for politics. And when he did, I remember we did a sketch imagining what it would be like if he was the president and how silly it would be with a big gold Oval Office. And I was banning all these people and doing all these crazy things, renaming things. And he did pretty much everything we did in the sketch that was a flight of fancy and in the moment. So sometimes you can never. I mean, and history is like that. As we go forward, like I remember when Justin Trudeau was running as leader, and I'd known Justin for years and talked to him on the show for years. I thought, well, he's never going to be prime minister. And then, surely enough, Justin's prime minister. And then Trump is running, and you're like, well, he's never going to be. Sure enough, he is. And then to get reelected. So it's like sort of like your parents might say, don't stop making faces like that. The wind might change and you'll be stuck looking like it. It's kind of like that. Careful what you wish for. Careful what you make fun of. It could
Sure.
become true.
As an East Coaster, I absolutely, get that. I can hear that coming out of my parents' voice for sure. I wanted to talk a little bit, in the book, you talk about meeting, a slew of different prime ministers over the years, becoming friends with some of those prime ministers. And one of the things that really struck me is that we've been pretty lucky here in Canada. Most of our prime ministers, at least in my lifetime and your lifetime, are around the same age. They've had a pretty good sense of humor. They've been
Yeah.
able to kind of carry along. And that is in stark contrast to Trump, who seems to have absolutely no sense of humor about anything.
Yeah. It's a real insecurity, though. It's a real emperor has no clothes kind of thing. You can always tell, but someone who can take a joke, especially in the kind of stuff I do, and sit there and take it and play along or whatever. Those are people who are comfortable in their own skin. And in my experience, making fun of politicians for a living. If I'm interviewing someone or if I'm going to chase after them and they shut things down, they run away, etc. Generally, there's something they're worried that they think and they're coming to talk about. And then a couple of weeks later, they'll be like, scandal, like something big will come out. And I'm like, oh, I see. He thought I knew that. So um, uh, being able to, I think our show, 22 Minutes, lets people see a different side of politicians. They're people too. They generally got into it for the right reasons, agree or disagree with them. Now, they're generally trying to do their best. And it's interesting to see how they'll react at the moment because you really get this peek behind the curtain.
One of the things when we think about the moment that we're in right now, I was also surprised when I was reading your book. It felt very current. That's not easy to do in terms of book publishing because it does take some time to get a book actually printed. So, what has this year been like for you in terms of kind of pivoting, putting this book together, getting it out so soon, and really reflecting this moment in time that so many Canadians are grappling with right now?
Well, that was my big worry too when I started because I asked in April if I could do this book. And I've been working on a different book and I pivoted and, they were said, okay, well, it's going to be tough because that's not how way books work. Like we have to get a printer ready and we had to do all this. And I said, I know. So I started in April and the last draft went through, July 1st, actually, Canada Day. So it's pretty quick turnaround for a book, but I would send it to them as I finished each chapter, each essay, and then they'd edit that and stick that on the pile with the others. So it was kind of working like an assembly line a bit. But, I mean, the world changes so quickly too. My other big worry was that maybe this will all be over by the time the book comes out. But, thank you, Mr. Trump, for making this book as timely now as ever. So I really should have dedicated it to him.
It's interesting too. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was the history of Newfoundland and Labrador. I think this is
Mhm.
something that maybe a lot of Canadians don't know a lot about. Can you talk a little bit about why you added so much of that to the story and also enjoyed your experiences growing up there as well?
Well, because, it all started, Mr. Trump talked about the 51st state and everybody thinking, oh, isn't that funny? And that could never happen. But I come from a place, Newfoundland and Labrador, that was its own country. It was a dominion, just like Canada at the time. And we had our own prime minister and we had our own stamps and we had our own currency and our own passports. And we voted ourselves out of existence because of economic pressure. And on the ballot was to stay as we were, um, join Canada or economic union with the United States, and it barely passed. And so a lot of fathers never spoke to their sons again because they voted to give up their country, and that was a huge scar across generations. Because it's a lot to give up your nationhood. And I just wanted to remind Canadians, like, well, not only can it happen to you, but you guys did it not long ago. In 1949, you took in the country of Newfoundland and made it a wonderful province, and it worked as a beautiful marriage. But these things happen, and economies fall, and economic pressures lead to all kinds of things. But we're very happy with the home we've made.
Absolutely. When I was reading it, I was thinking about a couple of years ago, another icon in Canada, Margaret Atwood, was in our
Right.
studio. And I had asked her off camera something about why people, especially young people, were struggling with the moment in time that we were in. This was just after the pandemic. And she said, well, Amber, I think the problem is they think that history started the day they were born. And then she kind of sauntered out of the studio. And I thought that was
Oh,
such a
wow.
classic Margaret Atwood thing, because I think there is an issue in this country when we don't consider our history. And if I can just talk a little bit more about your book, I think that's one of the things when you're able to put it into context in terms of where we've been, what we've experienced, how we've come together as a country. I think it helps all of us be a little more patriotic instead of some of the dialogue you may hear online that, people are leaving Canada, like, there's so many problems here. Can you talk a little bit about what you want readers to get out of reading the book?
Well, I would just like to comfort a little bit and say, look, it's a crazy time, but I'm here too. I'm in with it. We can laugh at it. If something you can laugh at something, it doesn't own you. Also, when you look at our history, we're a young country, but we even got our flag not that long ago and our anthem not that long ago. But this is a long game, and we will get through this as we have many similar challenges in the past. And I think Mr. Trump, his threat to assimilate us was very upsetting. But if anything, it's brought Canadians closer together. It's made them feel more Canadian. It's torn down trade barriers between provinces. So by attacking us, he has had the unexpected result of probably making us stronger than ever.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I was reading an article in the Telegram just recently, and it was Mark Critch's recipe for a perfect Trump. There are 7 different steps. I don't need you to go through all of them, but I would love to hear just some of the things that make Trump Trump that you're able to channel both in the book as well as through your show.
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is completely empty your mind like a Buddhist monk almost and have nothing else in there. And that's good. And then you fill that tank with absolute confidence. And you treat every question as an attack. Start talking confidently about something you know nothing about. Double down, triple down, throw around some insults, and then never actually finish doing anything. If you even like with this whole thing about the 51st state, Trump starts off as a joke. It's a 51st state, Governor Trudeau. It's hilarious, quite frankly. And then people go, "Oh, did you hear what he said? It's shocking. Oh, that yes, and really meant it. I meant it incredibly." And then he starts doubling down and tripling down. He had no intention of doing any of this, but it was just getting a good response because he's an entertainer. He's a ringmaster. So that's what you have to remember is don't prepare anything. Don't think about anything. React, then double down on whatever it was you said, no matter how wrong you are. And then afterwards, after you've been Trump for a while, shower twice.
That's very good advice. I also was thinking as I was reading your book about something that I saw you talk about a couple of times in interviews that you've done, where you mentioned that it's really important in comedy if you have an idea to write it down as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And that is because you don't want to think about these ideas too long. And I would love you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, comedy is interesting. I think of it as almost the only, not the only pure art form, but it's the only thing that an entertainer can't lie to themselves about. So if you're a ballet dancer and everyone applauds, you can think, "Oh, that went great." If you're someone playing a song in a bar and you get a little bit of a response, you go, "Okay, that went well." You're a painter and somebody says, "Oh, what beautiful textures." They can go, "Oh, okay." But maybe those people were just being nice. And in comedy, if people don't laugh, which is akin to sneezing or vomiting, it's a bodily reaction you can't fake. It just happens. If they don't do that, you failed every time. And I think comedy is always reacting. It's in the moment. If you're having a dinner party, somebody says something, you'll never laugh at a comedian as hard as you will at your aunt who said something off the cuff in that moment. Just it was what everyone was thinking. So I think a lot of times with comedy, if I get a really good idea and if I can't get it down fast enough, those are always the best ones. If you're kind of going around trying to struggling, like you can do a sketch that you takes you a while to write, but whenever it hits, it kind of comes from somewhere else and it's reacting. It's almost a joke is like hitting someone on the knee and their leg shoots out. So you want to keep it in the moment, and I guess that's what I was trying to do. It's harder in book form because it takes a while to come out, but I'm just trying to talk about the moment we're in right now.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that many politicians in this country are trying to figure out, especially our current prime minister, is what is the strategy for dealing with Trump? In a recent interview that you did, you said that it could be as simple as two words, which were frig off. And then you followed that up with advice for Prime Minister Mark Carney. Just don't text him back. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, I always think of Trump as kind of like one of these pickup artist guys who is negging a woman, like where you're insulting them a bit because it could be on. So that's what the kind of thing is interested in us, but he's kind of pulling our hair a bit. And I think the best thing for us to do is go buy some jets off Sweden and go like, "Oh, no, we're over where are you? Why haven't you written me back, Canada? Oh, sorry, hey, we're just over here at Sweden putting together a jet with an Allen key. What? But you were gonna buy my jets. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it." And then, I don't know, maybe we go over to China and get something there, and we talk to and I think the more we do that, and the more we work together, the more he's going to realize that he could possibly lose his best friend. So, yeah, leave him on red, Kearney.
Good advice. As you travel across the country, I know you've done a number of different book launches. You're back home now. What have you learned about going to many of those places across this amazing country and talking to so many of your fans?
Well, you know what? I was surprised. I mean, I did this book hoping and feeling that Canadians were quite upset and feeling patriotic and also feeling hurt and let down by our neighbor. And boy, did I ever feel that when I went to these events. I'd have these lineups. People were thanking me for writing this book. People brought me gifts. People were talking about how scared or frustrated they were in the moment. And I don't think I realized how much this whole thing had resonated with people. I mean, when you get across, but it's interesting to go from province to province and see it just as strong. Calgary was where I felt it the most, which surprised me. And it's great to see that we are all in it together, and it's nice to have something, whether it's a book or a song or something. It's nice to remind people of that we're all in it together and rally around together and just remind each other it's okay. This too shall pass.
Yes. When you mentioned Calgary, what was it about that visit when you say that that's where you felt it the most?
Well, I'd mention Trump and they'd start booing and stuff, and they were very vocal. And then a couple of people in the book signing lineup were quite teary eyed and stuff. And which surprised me just because I assume, Alberta will generally more, lean to the right more. And, Premier Smith is such a big fan of Mr. Trump's. I was shocked that the whole audience was like, if I had stood up and said, let's go get him, I think we could have just gotten trucks and driven over and just started throwing rocks. So it was, yeah, it surprised me.
Well, it's interesting when I think about my experience at the book launch in Toronto. I went with my friend Erica M., who is such an
Yes.
icon in Canada. Um,
Superstar.
yes, superstar. Also, my husband and my 16-year-old, who I was lucky enough to introduce to you,
Yes.
and Mark McKinney. And there was a moment when I kind of looked over to both you and Mark, and you were sitting in the corner before the event started. And it looked like you had a couple beers on the table and some poutine. And I thought, this is the most Canadian thing I've ever been to, right? Like most people who've written books are kind of backstage. They have the grand entrance, and I don't know what my question is on this front, but it felt to me like you sort of capture Canada in such a special way.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Well, Mark McKinney is just, I'm such a fan of Mark's, and he's just kind of the sweetest, nicest, unassuming guy. Not a hint of ego or anything. He's had great success. And yeah, we were just like thinking, do we go backstage? I was like, well, people are here. We got to go up and we'll just order a poutine and a beer and have a chat about what we're going to say, I guess. And people are filing in. They're like, oh, those the two Marks over there. And it's just, yeah, it's just lovely to be around folks. And there's none of that foolishness about, you're on TV. I'm not crap in Canada, Most people come up to me and they're like, "I know you." I'm like, "Oh, why? Thank you. Hello. Didn't we go to school together?" I'm like, "No, no, no. It's something else." I'm like, "No, I'm on TV." "That's not it. You are married to my cousin Becky." So it's like it's a different thing. But yeah, no, it's great. There's nothing better than sitting with your buddy in a bar eating a poutine. Come on.
I just a couple more questions for you before I let you go. I didn't want to forget to ask you about your mom and your dad because those parts of the book I think were so special in terms of your relationship with them, your experience as a child, and I just want to talk a little bit about how that has really shaped what you're doing today.
Oh, very much so. I mean, Dad, was a reporter, for VOCM Radio here in St. John's. Before that, he was worked for the Daily News, and he covered Confederation with Canada back in the day for the paper. So growing up in the house, it was always, talking about news, and I always looked at political figures in my life as a kid, almost like wrestlers. Everybody was so big and had such a great personality in Newfoundland and Labrador. Big characters like Joey Smallwood and John Crosby and larger than life figures. And it was always very, very interesting. And Mom was just very funny, very humorous, always laughing. There was a lilt to her laughter that was like a song or a river babbling past. It was just lovely. So it was kind of born to write comedy about the news, I guess. Like, and now on this TV show I do called Son of a Critch, based on my first book about growing up in Newfoundland, I get to play my dad, and I'm wearing Dad's jacket, and in furniture from our house I grew up in is on the set, and playing my dad made me look at my memories through his eyes in a different way, and I think brought me closer to him, than ever, even though he's no longer with us. So yeah, I mean, they're in everything I do.
Just a quick follow up on that because I don't want to give too much of the book away. But when you talk about other generations of men in your family, the
Yeah.
Critches, your dad lived, I believe, till he was 93,
Yes.
and other men in your family, I mean, they passed very young in very tragic ways, and I thought that was interesting too, in the sense that I feel that gives you a little bit of this different perspective on knowing that things can be really horrible because you come from generations where it was really difficult. Not everybody can share that story.
No, Dad's father died of TB when he was 5. His father was a fisherman who drowned. His father was a fisherman who drowned. His father was a whaler who drowned. And then it gets, more and more drownings as you go, because living by the sea, it's a very, dangerous place. And you learn to respect it and realize it gives and it takes. And because of that, I think that's where Newfoundlanders really get a sense of humor too. When something is so dark and tragic all the time, having a laugh, even if it's a dark moment, is kind of like a wink between two people saying, "Look, we can laugh. We'll get through this. We'll get through this too." And so that's where a lot of that comes from, I think. But then when we joined Canada, Dad was born a Newfoundlander. I'm a first generation Canadian, really. Dad became a Newfoundland a Canadian, and after that we stopped drowning. So I would say Canada's been very good to the
Sorry for
Critches.
laughing.
No, it's
Sorry for
true, it's
laughing.
true. But, like, Dad would say that after Confederation, you'd see the kids in mass going up to get communion, and every year they're getting taller and stronger and fatter, and that was a bit for the first time after because you were living off getting supplies really for the fish, not cash in hand. During the war, the Americans had bases. There was some cash in hand, but after that, women for the first time were getting cash in hand from what we call the baby bonus, and that was going into feeding the families and stuff. So the baby death rate in Newfoundland and Labrador dropped significantly after Confederation. So yeah, it actually even saved lives, in my opinion. So yeah.
Incredible. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. Just one final question for you in terms of people who are considering getting this book. Is it a good gift for the holidays? What is your opinion of that?
It seems to be. People tell me I've been signing lots of books for as gifts and stuff, and yeah, it's a it's pretty much a light read. It's a fast read. It's something to have under the tree, and I think it might start a few interesting conversations around the old table while people are recovering from their turkeys. So yeah, I think so.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's such a joy to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark and Amber. Coming up next, we have another Mark on the show to share some last-minute holiday tech gift ideas to catch up on your shopping.
You're listening to The Amber Mac Show on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167.
The holidays are rapidly approaching, and if you're still in need of some high-tech gift ideas, technology columnist and podcast host Mark Saltzman joined Amber with some picks for the whole family, including some new tech now available in Canada.
Talking Tech.
Mark, we are going to start off your list with some gift ideas for gamers. And I'm really excited about this because I think gifts for gamers are always so popular this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. So if they don't have a system yet, then I would strongly recommend the new Nintendo Switch 2. Came out in June, still red hot, and there's some bundles as well. But yeah, this, of course, is the successor to the wildly popular Nintendo Switch. It lets you play games at home or on the go. So anywhere, anytime, you can dock it and play it on a big screen TV. Of course, it supports thousands of games. So not just exclusive Nintendo Switch 2 titles, but all the back catalog of existing Nintendo Switch games. There's, of course, now magnetic Joy-Con controllers on each side, a new game chat feature, a bigger and brighter and better display. And some of the new games to recommend if you're shopping for someone who already has a Nintendo Switch 2 would be Pokemon Legends ZA is a lot of fun. And there is a bundle, by the way, if you haven't picked up a machine and the game together, so you can save on that. If you are shopping, though, for more of a computer gamer, accessories are definitely the way to go, assuming they already have their rig that they love. I just got a new desktop tower myself. So I'd recommend the Razer Black Widow V3 Special Edition keyboard. So this is one of those RGB keyboards that light up, millions of colors, now with white keys. But more importantly, it delivers precision and speed with its mechanical switches. I love the way it sounds and feels. Ultra fast actuation and tactile feedback. It also has 6 programmable macro keys. So if you're competitive online, you can program that one key to do several things. There's a little roller wheel and media keys and a lot more to like. It's on sale at Best Buy. Instead of $219, it's down to $99 throughout December. So a great buy from Razer.
Very cool. I feel like my son would absolutely love that. He loves his gaming accessories, especially Razer. Next up, we want to talk about a lightweight laptop and a monitor to go along with it.
Yeah, so you might probably know, Amber, we've done interviews for so long. I'm a big fan of Asus, the laptop company, and they've got the ZenBook A14 that has, get this, 32 hours of battery life. Like, that
Wow.
is insane. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor that sips rather than gulps power. But yeah, you mentioned lightweight. So this is the world's lightest Copilot PC or Copilot Plus PC at under a kilogram. So it's like 980 grams. You won't even feel it in your backpack. It's got a stunning OLED screen and so many other bells and whistles. It's also durable, by the way. It's got this exclusive material called Ceraluminum, which is a fusion of ceramics and aerospace grade aluminum. So very durable as well. So that's from Asus, also on sale for $400 off in December, should you want to treat a loved one or yourself to a new laptop. And speaking of computers, a great accessory for that group would be the ViewSonic VX1655 4K portable monitor. So this is one of those monitors that, as the name suggests, you can bring it with you. It's super lightweight. And when you plug it into a laptop, a desktop, a phone, a tablet, a video game console, it often gets the power it needs from the device itself. You don't have to plug it into the wall. It gets the power from that USB-C cable. There's also an HDMI or a mini HDMI option as well, but it's a little small, 15.6-inch OLED 4K screen on a kickstand that you can bring anywhere, whether it's for work or play. You're maybe at a Starbucks and you want a second screen for spreadsheets, or you're a content creator and you want one screen for your palette, one for your canvas. You can do all of that, or for gaming. It's great. So I love that. It's on sale as well in December.
Very cool. And I have to say, the last two picks that you have, I haven't tried either of these out, which is very unusual because you and I tend to talk about a lot of the same type of tech, especially what's new. But these two picks, these would be great for my shopping list, Mark.
Yeah, so you're probably hinting at the Remarkable Paper Pro Move. So this is Remarkable's been around. Remarkable has been around for a few years. It's like a writing tablet, and it feels like real pen on paper, even sounds like it. But this is great for on-the-go professionals like yourself, or students, anybody where you want to capture when inspiration strikes, because you can write, you can sketch, you can draw. It's super light. It's like 7.3-inch display that's color, by the way. So you can also read ebooks on it, of course, and digital magazines, but you really won't feel this in your purse or in your jacket pocket. Super light. Staples has this exclusively to try at their locations. You can buy it online at staples.ca as well, but if you want to try it out, go to your local Staples location. You'll see the front light, you'll see the handwriting to text transcription and cloud synchronization it supports as well. Great stuff. And 2-week battery. So that's from Remarkable. And then finally, for smart home tech, which I'm a big fan of, the new Amazon Echo Show 11 is the latest smart display in the family. It's one of the 4 new devices that came out in October in Canada and powered by Alexa Plus. So this is a new and improved Alexa personal assistant that is more personable. She's got memory now, more conversational. You don't have to keep saying Alexa to wake her up, using her in air quotes. She'll remember things, as I mentioned, like if you've got a dietary preference or an allergy in the home and then you want to have a dinner party, she'll remind me that I've got a tree nut allergy with my kids. She'll even book restaurant reservations for you. You could say, find me something, and through OpenTable, she'll find and book something for you and then send it to your calendar. Like really getting smart. And of course, it is a beautiful display with really loud audio. So place it wherever you want in the home. It's about $269, different colors to choose from. So that's from Amazon. So no shortage, depending on your budget and your needs and your tastes. A few ideas as we holiday up at this time of year. Sorry, cheesy sweater, Christmas sweater and all. But always great chatting with you, Amber. Thanks so much.
It's always so much fun. Have a great holiday season. I know we're going to have lots to talk about in the new year in 2026. So we'll talk then.
Thanks, Mark and Amber, and thanks for listening to this week's episode. We've got a couple specials coming up to end off December, so make sure you listen on SiriusXM Canada Talks or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're also getting lots of great comments over on YouTube, so please check out the show over there at Amber Mac for our tech headlines, which are quite popular, and of course, Jeff's The Other Mac segments and our guest features. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
You're listening to The Amber Mac Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.